Very peaceful this morning. And you should see the breeding pairs down here. Up here already, first thing. Come on, sweetheart. You gonna go for it or not? You gonna go for it? You want fed? There you go. Go on then. Now, the ideal thing is to try and keep this breeding pair apart from all these males. So try and, spread some out down here. And see if anybody's gonna hand feed this morning. Yeah, it's funny. You get some days where like almost all of them will hand feed, and then you get some days where just none of them want to. I think it's definitely kind of like a follower effect. It's like once the first one does, then it eases things and makes it a lot easier for all the rest. But it probably depends how hungry one of the brave ones are, and maybe what they've gone through the day before with other people, and you know, maybe through the night, how skittish they are. I think that's probably another consideration to have, like their sort of daily skittish level. So as I can, they all seem very calm. Skittishness and friendliness. I guess as people, we kind of feel a combination of that on any given day. You might feel particularly calm, but maybe not for sociable, not really wanting to. Oh, straps on. kind of like a real strength battle. They kind of put their beaks down and push at each other, but they're also trying to pluck breast feathers as well. So I guess they're kind of guarding their own breasts while trying to attack the breast of the other male. Yeah, so that one's given up. And that's his female there, I believe. That's his. Or is that it's either that's the male or that's the male. They always kind of stand up and beat their wings after a little scrap like that. And not always the victor. Sometimes the loser does it as well. Yeah, so the female's coming back. The danger's past. And see, she's a little aggressive as well. She'll chase off the males a bit, as much as she can. You coming back? Is it settled? The squabble settled for now. All right. But she's a little bit nervous this morning. There you go. Now, what you tend to find is, especially when they're sort of partnered up for the breeding season, the males will always let the females eat first, unless they're like really starving, but most of the time they'll let the females. And if I'm honest, I'm not even sure if it's a case that they'll let the female. I think the female just dominates and she like takes the food. So if she wasn't so skittish this morning, I could like reach over and put a pile of food in front of him. But if I did that, she would turn around and eat his food first, and she would kind of like guard her food. So I guess she's just, especially in breeding season, she's just wanting as much resources as possible. I mean, I don't know how much sort of body fat and things it takes, but I think it takes a lot of, fat and stuff to produce eggs and egg yolks and all that kind of stuff. So, well, she's going to be loving the seeds and stuff for all the omegas and stuff right now. I used to just bring these floating duck and swan pellets, and they're pretty good because they'll just float on the water. Um, but then occasionally I would run out, so I'd go to the local shop and buy some seed, and they would kind of go wild for that. So I started just bringing the seed, and then but in short, they like a lot of everything. They like a varied diet. When they're absolutely starving, they'll have a ton of bread. It's the thing that fills them up the fastest. And a lot of people come down and they might see me feeding them stuff like this, and then they kind of go, "Oh, we shouldn't feed them bread." And I'm like, "No, like feed them whatever the hell you want. If they're gonna eat it, let them eat it." And they're not daft. They're not going to just like gorge themselves on bread for the rest of their life and not eat anything else. They'll eat bread. They'll satisfy that hunger pang, and then if there's a better food available, then they'll go and get that. But I mean, I think it's a lot better that they actually get fed than they don't. And I mean, obviously they can feed themselves, but come on, you can do it. You can do it. It's tempted, wants to see, but yeah, they're very very nervous today. See if I can spot if one of the sort of the regular strong ducks comes down. Maybe he'll start the feeding process. Come on, anybody? I'll start trying to lure them in a little bit. Yeah, there's that sort of solitary jackdaw in the background. I mean, he's not solitary. He's part of her. He's part of a pack or whatever you would call. But he'll often be the first one down, and he'll do a lot of the initial feeding and stuff, and then maybe later somebody else will come down. But he'll come within maybe a meter of me now. I feel quite blessed by that. But yeah, definitely a different. different day to day. And I probably wasn't even noticing the differences in the days. Like originally when I was coming down before I was actually starting to like make videos and stuff, I wasn't sort of even considering if there was a different sort of atmosphere to me. I'm just whispering a bit because somebody's just kind of hanging around, and I don't want to seem weird. People probably don't know what I'm doing. Also, I'm gonna like this now. Oh, here's a new group of males coming in. This should liven things up a little bit. So that noise they make, and it's not so much like a war cry. It's more kind of announcing their presence kind of thing. Well, this is my guess anyway. So I don't think it's going to super kick off. I just think they're just letting everybody know they've arrived and see if anybody here's going to feed. Come on, Sinner. You coming? You coming? Anybody? Any takers? Come on. You coming? Some seed if you want, if you prefer. I'm not sure if they can actually see the difference. Yeah, but most unusual again. Nobody wants to feed. Hand feed, that is. Come on, boys. You coming? Anybody? 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 Come on, Sonny. You gonna go for it? Come on. I can tell you're gonna do it. Go on. You be the first today. Good lad. There's a boy. There's a good boy. Now, if you look, see the attention that guy's paying. So they really watch each other. Oh, trouble on the water. Somebody spotted something. You see, they all kind of raise their heads. I don't think it's the seagull, but I think that probably maybe somebody seen a really big fish or something. You get some big brown trout here. Somebody said that it was once there's like a story of a pike once being seen. We do get some pretty big eels here as well. Um, but yeah, as they're all sort of craning their necks and things, that's when there's well, this guy might want to feed. As they're craning their necks and things, that's when they're sort of sure that there's like a danger there that they're checking for. Do you want these or do you want seeds? Hmm? Or fill your belly or hmm? Try on some seed instead. Some seed instead. That might be what you want. That's better, isn't it? I think that's the premium, isn't it? Hmm? Any more or what? I think, the food's really dry for them. So sometimes it kind of sticks. And the other stuff, especially, will take time going down. They got to keep going back to the river and getting a drink. Isn't that mad that they drink the thing they kind of swim in? Going or what? Anymore? My arm's kind of getting tired, so I better hurry up and eat what you're gonna eat. You can have that if you want. These guys are pretty cool. I like these guys. Uh, black-headed gulls. They're pretty acrobatic as well. Like um, if you throw them stuff, quite often they'll jump and catch it. Although this one, I think, has begun to expect that I just kind of drop them there in front. Sometimes I like kind of not starting a fight, but I just like putting them close to one another just to see the real pecking order. But you can see there, like pretty much everything is scared of the seagull here. Not scared, but will definitely like give way. It's definitely the most dominant of all the birds here. Um, but then obviously you'll get like your corvids, your jackdaws and stuff. Like they're a bit clever, I think. So if it came to it, they'd probably mob it, but I don't think it would be that daft. I think there's a general level of respect between species. Yeah. So this guy, just before I spun around, he was kind of just sitting behind me, craning his neck, like clawing at me. I probably turned around too fast to scare him off. So hey, Sharon. One of the things I like about this place is just sometimes the beauty of the situation. I mean, you probably won't capture it really in the camera there, but in the distance, the sun's just kind of like glistening off the water and kind of shining through, and it doesn't really show there. I think you get like a little bit of effect. It looks a bit darker on the screen than it actually is, but it's so beautiful here. A lot of chatter. What's happening? What's going on? Scrap's coming. Scrap. Uh, it's really weird. It's like a playground sometimes. They all kind of like, they're like a group of guys that kind of get a bit excited and start wanting to flex their muscle and stuff. And then they kind of flex, and there's maybe a little bit of a scrap or somebody backs down, and then it settles down for a while. Come on, son. Come on. Good boy. There you go. Ah, you little bully. I hate when they do that. Like one of them's feeding and another one comes behind and attacks it. The other one doesn't have the courage to actually come and feed, but it stops the other one from doing it. But I think, like I said yesterday or the day before, that's life, isn't it? There's so many people who, if you're getting on, they don't have the courage to do what you do, so they'll kind of stop you and pull you back. Hi, Ross or Roses. Um, I think you see that most evidently when you're sort of driving on the road. Um, like you'll be behind somebody driving like slow. They'll be doing like 30 and a 60. So you overtake them and they go crazy, they honk at you or they flash you, and you're just like, what the hell did you want me to do? Like, did you want me to stay behind you at 30? Like, I've had times when I try and overtake people, so then they speed up and you nearly get killed because the friggin', they almost jam you into the oncoming car on the other side. So when I overtake people now, I literally just floor it. Like absolutely, I don't sort of like just I don't just pass them at a reasonable speed. I floor it if I overtake somebody. I try to give them as little warning as possible, so I don't like get up behind them or anything. I just kind of I wait. I sort of wait for the right time, and then I just sort of go past them as fast as I can. And I actually find that works well. Like they don't really react too much. Maybe it's the way I'm doing it. Maybe I used to get up behind them too much or put too much pressure on. I don't think I did, but I get close. I wouldn't tailgate for very long. I'll take over at the first available opportunity. I hate being held back. I think it's one of the worst things in life when people hold each other back. I think we're here to, yeah, I love ducks too. They're amazing. Um, I think we're all here to do what we've got to do, like to really live our lives, our own unique lives, and share our gifts or reach our own potentials. And when people try and stop each other from reaching their potential, I think that's one of the greatest crimes of humanity. Jealousy, or I don't know, what is it? Is it that? Is it simply that? Is it simply jealousy? I mean, what else could it be? If somebody tries to stop somebody else from getting on, well, yeah, I suppose it could be other things. It could be like narcissistic stuff, where people trying to just drain the life out of you. Yeah, he's a beauty, that chap, though. Beautiful. So funny to see the jelly on the ground there, and it, it's 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 quite funny. Like the ducks won't actually touch too much human food, especially like our fruit and veg and stuff like that. These will turn their nose up at a lot of food you would expect them to eat. Like I've tried them on all sorts: grapes, blueberries, that kind of stuff, potatoes. The only reason I try them on potatoes because I think swans like potatoes, but yeah, they won't touch any of it. Peas, they're not even bothered by, but somebody did come down and feed them tinned sweet corn the other day, and they really went for that. Like, so that was cool. Yeah, so just done a little experiment there and just kind of rested the camera down. I think I would much prefer that rather than having to hold the phone. Just be able to just sit and observe. I mean, if you think that's that's a lot of males, a lot of males altogether. I think they I think they coexist pretty well considering, you know. I mean, there must be what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I mean, there's definitely like 30 plus males here. There's two females. So I reckon on this river, there's maybe around 40 male ducks and around about six females. You know, that's a heavy ratio. Competition's pretty tough. You hungry? Something I wonder with ducks, and I wonder if anybody's got the answer. So I thought ducks sort of partnered up for life. You know, I kind of thought they were monogamous, but I've seen a lot of mate switching, and I've seen a lot of different breeding strategies from different females. So I don't think they're partner for life. In fact, I know they don't. I think swans are more likely to do that. You know, I don't think they'd partner for life, but it's, you know, there's a strong chance, 90% chance they might retain the same male. But there's always, changes of circumstances and stuff. Um, yeah, so maybe you call it like a divorce rate or something, so like swans have got like a 10% divorce rate. I think ducks have got like I don't know, maybe a 50% divorce rate. And I think ultimately with ducks, what it comes down to is sort of strength. So if you get a very strong male and a very strong female, I think there's a chance that they can partner up for life, and maybe that's the chosen that's like the ideal situation maybe for them. But if either of them are weak, especially if the male's weak, the female gets harassed so much that probably over time it just puts so much stress and strain on the relationship, if that's what you'd call it. Um, that maybe she decides to, choose a different male the following season, or maybe another male forces her out. Um, but yeah, there's a female who she's very weak. She's very skittish, and she gets blasted by all of the ducks. Especially like not so much now, but in breeding season, they'll poor thing. They'll run a train on her like 12 ducks one after the other kind of thing. And that was happening to her many times a day. Poor thing was wrecked and exhausted. And she did have a male. Um, And to me, I think he was an older male. You know, he was like one like this, where the beak, the pigment of the beak's kind of gone all yellow and worn, kind of thing. And I see her now, and I don't think I see her with that male anymore. Um, I also saw another another duck, and I kind of sort of nicknamed him Brownie in my mind. And he had a like his whole body. You see, and you see there where they're brown at the front, and then grey along the side and underneath. Well, he was pretty much brown all the way back, and he was a beast. Like he came in, and he was almost top dog. I think there was only one other duck here that could sort of send him off. And he was quite close to that one anyway. So I think maybe they both came in, maybe they were brothers or something. But he was alone for a good he was alone for a good month, I would see him every day. He wouldn't take feed from me. So obviously he was hunting himself or whatever, foraging himself. Um, but then just one day randomly, I saw him with one of the females, and he was with her for like um, I don't know, he was with her for like a good week, maybe two. And I was like, what the hell happened? Like, did he take one of the females here? Um, and maybe he did. And I was like, well, shit. Well, I was like, is that his female coming in? But I don't know. Like, did they come from another river? Um, but then couple of weeks went by, and the other female sort of, she disappeared, or she went back with another mate, or she separated. I couldn't tell. I know some of the ducks by sight and distinguish. I reckon I can if there's 40, I reckon I can distinguish. Well, let's say there's 46 ducks here. I reckon I can distinguish about maybe 15 of them. I can sort of individually recognize them. And they've each got their own sort of individual personality. Yeah, but that was, so unless that was his female coming from somewhere else, which I doubt, it seems unlikely to me. He obviously took one of the females in the group, kept her for a little while, and then he didn't move on, but they separated, So what were they doing? Were they having like a bit of an affair? Was she trying to secure some really strong genes or something, and then she went back? But yeah, I find that whole thing interesting because, for example, I think that one there, that's the alpha group. That's the alpha pair right there. And they're very stable. Nobody really fucks with them. Um, and this one's a very strong pair here as well. The female there and the male just above her. And they'll get a little bit of hassle, but not too much. And I think to me that seems as if that is the ideal situation. Certainly for the female, that the females have such a nice peaceful life. Um, Presuming that's what they want, and they also get the strong genes from a very strong male. So hopefully their offspring will be particularly strong as well. And I mean, isn't that the case in sort of in human society as well? Where isn't that the ideal situation? Just like a monogamous relationship, but of a particular type. I think the male has to be. Um, he's probably got to be all the things of a good duck. He's got to be physically uh, large and strong and imposing, and he has to be able to protect her. Um, he has to fight off when necessary. All the other males. And the female, she needs to be strong and secure in herself. So although I'll see these strong breeding pairs. I'll see the male. He'll step out, and even like even him on the end, he'll step out. So if he, like, let's say she gets too close to him, and maybe there's a bit of frantic action going on, or there's a bit of food scarcity or something like that, he will chase her and force breed her, and he'll swim straight back to his female, and she won't bat an eyelid. Like whether she knows, I don't know. Um, but I've never seen these females stepping out. You know, whether they would or not, or whether they just don't want to, I wouldn't know. Um, I'm guessing the whole act is a sort of a different situation. It's a much simpler act than it is for humans. I mean, I'm guessing there's a level of psychology and biology goes on there, but I'm guessing it's a simpler thing. So for her, it's probably easier if she's getting all her needs met. Plenty of food, protection, dominance, territory, and stuff. You know, I don't know. I don't know. Much harder for humans, I think, because we're so much more complex. And, I think we all walk around with a lot more trauma and psychological nuance and things. I think, I don't know. I was going to say maybe the older days would have been much simpler for relationships and things. Whether they were or not, who knows? But I think ultimately, a good, uh, a good bonding pair, you've got to have two strong, a very strong female and a very strong male. Other than that, what's the point in a relationship? Breeding, boredom. Mm. I could sit here and feed. I mean, I don't know what I give them. I'd probably give them 2 or 3 kilos of food each morning. I could feed them that, and 10, 20 minutes later, they'd eat some more. I wonder if this is like a high population. I mean, you got a ton of ducks right at the end there as well. I wonder if this is like a high concentration. I mean, obviously the river's a big place, so it can sustain a lot of ducks. But they all congregate here because this is where all the everybody, tourists and locals, all feed them. I think they're a very popular attraction for the town. Bit of a rat fight going on underneath the deck, and I think just see the tail. Just, the rats are really nice here as well. The the ducks will never peck the tail. So if the tail comes through the floorboards like that, the ducks will never peck it. But the seagull will have a good go. That'll pull on that thing as hard as it can if it can get it. But yeah, the seagulls will try and take a lot of things. They'll try and go for they'll have a try at a full grown rat, a female rat, but they can't take it. The rat will kind of launch back. But the bird will still scarf her. I think in a full tussle, the seagull would get it. But it would have to be pretty hungry, and the rat would have to be out and be exposed and not be able to get away. Yeah, somebody else is doing a little bit of feeding. Tend to stop when anybody else comes and feeds. Let everybody else join in the fun. Yeah, it's a very pleasant experience feeding ducks. I don't know what we get out of it. I don't know what we feel. Maybe providing. We're providing for something. Sort of fulfills our biological need to provide. Fucking hell, what a biological need for men to be imbibed with the need to provide. That's funny right now because we live in a time when men providing is almost seemed as an insult, which probably kind of benefits us massively because any of us who do have effective provisions and the means to provide, we end up just keeping it for ourselves. So, and those of us who can't, then we don't go without. I like animals though. They don't get swayed by politics and fashions. You know, yeah, they'll change their food source and things like that when there's a food source. And well, I think a dog is a dog. I'm guessing they behave differently in captivity, and maybe that's the thing. Like humans, we are captive. Where are we captive or domesticated? And maybe that's why I enjoy watching the ducks so much, and maybe that's why everybody enjoys watching the ducks so much because we get to see wild animals up close. And I mean, these must be halfway between wild and domesticated because they interact with so many people on a daily basis. But I think they're closer to wild than being domesticated. They probably just see us as other animals, in the same way like, zebras and antelope will coexist, you know. It doesn't affect the others because Oh, is she coming? You want some food, Mama? Come on then. Hey, come on. Come on, sweetie. Come on. Come on, sweetie. Come on, baby. Come on. Come on. Excuse me. Yeah, I find with the females in particular, they respond really well to that kind of lulling, cooing voice you do. You know, where you're like, "Come on, baby, come on." You know, they really, obviously the tone or something. They kind of like that. Isn't it weird that an animal? Isn't it weird that animals respond like that? And I mean, obviously they're gonna because they're able to sense aggression. So if I started to raise my voice and shout, they're gonna sense that. So why wouldn't they sense like a softer cooing kind of "Come on, baby"? Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they sense that? It's weird to me that they do though. It's almost that they're picking up on the love or the kindness or the compassion. But if they can pick up on aggression, I mean, I can be sat here and I can have all the ducks all sitting around me, all around me, behind me, and everything like that, and somebody will walk down even slowly under the under the jetty, and they'll scarper. They'll quick smart go in that water. They're picking up on something, and then at times when somebody else will come down and they're not even particularly quiet, they're quite noisy and just moving around, and the ducks won't move an inch. I've had it where the baby rats have kind of all been sat around me, and and a and a guy's come down, somebody who, if I looked at, I would kind of think he's all right. I wouldn't think anything, any kind of like deep calm energy or anything, and they'll come and those rats won't move. They'll run around his feet and stuff. So and even talking to the guy, you could tell he was a nice guy. He was a bit lost and a bit confused about some of the things that go on in his life because you always find people come and tell you their life story. But I think he was a good guy, and I think animals can pick up on that. You know, I think they can pick up on your essence. Which what does that mean then? Does that mean we kind of carry a general essence of who we are, no matter how fucked up our lives may be? You know, a good guy is still a good guy. So what does that mean? Do we have a score system, a tally system of goodness in our soul or something? I don't know. But there's a whole variety of people out there. I'm also trying to avoid people these days. It's it's a shame because you kind of got to go through 100 or 1,000 people to meet a decent person these days. And I think the ones, well, obviously, well, if you know this or not, but you begin to learn this, the ones who come across the nicest at first, and I don't mean the nicest, I mean the ones who come across like super friendly, super nice. You get super close to them very fast. Those are often the worst. You've got to be really careful with that. But I think if you sit down with somebody and you walk away thinking that was lovely, that was pleasant, I think those are the good people, and those are the ones you want to just try and just slowly build things with. Just be open to people like that. Sometimes you only meet them once in your life, but you have just such a wonderful conversation, you know. And then sometimes you see them weekly or whatever, and those conversations can be so enriching to the soul. Starting to get not later in the morning, but it's starting to get the time when everybody's starting to scuttle about. I fucking hate to go. I really wish I didn't. I think I've given too much of myself for too long, and I think my body's just it's done. You know. Morning. I think my soul is done now. I think it's got nothing left to give. That's the thing with animals. They don't take from you in the same way. You know, they will. They'll obviously take whatever food you want to give them. But that's it. They're not looking for any additional emotional support or anything. They're not looking to take everything you have. They'll take they'll take what you offer in the moment, and they'll be grateful for that. Once they realize there's nothing else on offer, or once they think there's nothing else on offer, then they just kind of chill out. You know, so these are all just sat down. I start throwing some more food. They'll probably wake up and come and take it again. Some people, they can take everything you've got. And even when you've got nothing left to give, they will still take more. You've always got something else to give. Because if you're I don't know, if you're what's the word, a normal or a healthy human, normal, if you're a normal human, you can always generate more internal energy. You've always got more to give. I think until you die, you've always got something to give. And there's some people out there who will take every ounce that they can. Or it might be that they can't generate any of that internal energy, or maybe they just want more than they can generate themselves. Maybe they don't understand how much they can personally generate. A lot of people are like that. So what is that? So that's a parasitic relationship, isn't it? Are some humans parasitic? Are they genetically parasitic? Or is it a decision that we all make? Sure, I could do it. Oh, here's some. Oh, here's some ducklings. Getting big. They're getting big. Mm, Ducklings are very interesting. Nobody really fucks with ducklings, believe it or not. The other females, we'll give them a little peck if they get too close, but the males mostly get out of the way of the ducklings. Fast. Ducklings are faster than regular ducks on the water. They can sprint across the water. But yeah, they're getting big. I wonder if they can take these. I wonder if they can take these pellets yet. Let's give them a try. They can take the seed, but the seed quickly sinks to the ground. So Try and give the mother some food. She probably has a hard time. You know, she's got these ducks all the time, and she doesn't often climb out of the bank. But you see that how she saw the male off. Yeah, she's not even too bothered this morning, so she's obviously getting fed well enough. But yeah, if you notice, nothing really fucks with the ducklings. Seagull will, but they're possibly, I don't know, they might be too. No, I think a seagull will probably have a go still, but it won't be long before they're safe even from seagulls and things. But yeah, she's a well. That's that's interesting because that female, she was she's one of the weaker females, and I think that was the one that I was talking about. Who she gets hammered. She got absolutely harassed this breeding season, and the way I can recognize her actually is she's missing quite a large tuft of fur from the back of her head. And she got so harassed that they ripped out every feather in the back of her head because that's how they'll breed with her. You know, they kind of grab her by the back of her head and, pin her down and it kind of pulls her head back. And, I think it makes her more receptive. But she's done well. Like if she is the same one, which I think it is, she had 6 chicks. And I thought she'd lost them all. And I think she did. I think she lost them all because I saw, when gradually weaned down to one and then zero. And that was a while. But then I started to see her very actively breeding or being bred. And then she turned up with the 3 chicks. So I'm not sure if that's from her original clutch, if that's the right term, or if this was a second batch that she had, but she's really come into her own. She was very skittish. Like I say, she's get hammered, and her mate was very weak. He was very weak. He would try and protect her, but they would literally just breed with her. He'd be like trying to pull them off, and they just didn't move. I think he was a very weak male. So I don't know if she's abandoned him or he's been chased off. I don't know what's really happened there, but her whole demeanor, she's a much stronger female now. So that motherhood has really changed her. It's really nice to see because I felt really bad for her. And I protected her a few times, but there's only so much you can do. I'm only I'm only here for an hour or so a day. There's 23 other hours of the day where she's getting hammered, but she's yeah, she's strong. Be interested. I don't think I'd recognize her. I recognize one of the females because she seems to have a bit of a neck injury. She's almost got like a broken neck. Um, and I don't know if it's the same one or another one. Has it? She seems to have a bit of like a neurological impairment, so she's always like twitching and stuff. But I wouldn't recognize. The only way I recognize her is from the fact that she lost all the feathers in the back of her head. So, come next season, I won't recognize her to see how she's changed from season to season. Um, One of the females is a much darker, um, shinier color than the others, so I recognize her. But you see there, the female is chasing up the ducklings. But That was funny. One of the ducklings had a look. One of the ducklings is having to go back at us. That's crazy. Yeah, that's gonna be a strong duckling right there. Wow, that's insane. Well, a lot of territory there, son, don't you? Get out of my 10-meter radius. Some not a sweetheart. Mm. She's pretty, right? She's beautiful. So elegant. Well, I think I'm about done with the filming. Nothing too much going on. I'm gonna wrap up the film and just sit and distribute the rest of the food and maybe just sit and chill.